What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? This is the No Frills podcast. We're just recapping the fights, Saturday's fights.
Diego Lopez, man.
Beast, straight savage, and that was no
Yeah.
joke. When he beat the way he beat Sabatini, that is one, you're an underdog, which somebody probably should have told him that, right? And Sabatini, I thank you, BD. Sabatini is absolutely no joke. You know what I mean? No joke. What is it? This is Diego's second win, right? Since he went the distance with Evloev. I can't say it. Evloev.
It's like Dana said. Dana said the dude's got all the makings of a star, right? I mean, you take a look at the people who are recognizable from the UFC. You got your Sean O'Malley's, right? Big colorful hair and everything. What's this dude's deal? He's got the emo mullet. He's got the big, emo dream believe whatever the tattoo is against it, up on his chest and everything. So it's like, even though we didn't get a call out for this guy, I'm curious to see who you put him up against. Who you
All
got?
I know is when it's a very stacked division, but Sabatini was no joke. That was massive for Diego. That quick, that's a statement. Does that give
First
him a
round.
jump? Because again, this is a division that doesn't like to move, right?
Sure.
It likes to bottleneck up at the top, and it doesn't like to move very much. Chat, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't like to move, Sean, when it comes to everybody wants to hold on to their spot. So it's almost like you gotta have to force him up there. Obviously, he's probably not ready, but in
You
his
don't think
eyes,
you don't think you could give Lopez a Bruce Leroy?
100%, you can give him a Bruce Leroy. Like I would give him a Sadiq
I would
Yusuf
give him
would
Bruce
be,
Lee. Yeah,
oof, I'd be scared of a Sadiq, but
maybe yeah. But it'd be a good fight.
it would be a good fight.
Good
Bryce
ass
Mitchell,
fight,
that'd be
right?
fun to watch. But are we throwing him in? Are we throwing him in too soon? Do we let him
I mean, Bryce
dangle
is only
around where
ranked
he's
10,
at?
man.
Huh?
Bryce is only ranked 10. I mean, he's not far off from that. If you give him Bruce Leroy, because Bruce Leroy's ranked 15, right? So, who
I
you
like
got?
that.
You got Murphy, you got Dan Ige, you got Sadiq Youssef, Edson Barboza, and Bryce Mitchell. Those are the bottom 5 of the top 15 in the
Yeah.
featherweight division.
I
If you're
mean,
trying to create a star, you need to get him some wins over recognizable faces, right?
get him a
Not
fight with
saying that
Mitchell.
like Sabatini's not, but at the same time, it's like the top 15 in that division, everybody knows their names.
That was just a big win against Sabatini. I'm stuck on it. Hopefully, he doesn't ride it for too long, but get him right back in there. I'm with you. He's got to. Now I'm stuck. B. Dean said about Mitchell, and I'm sitting there going,
Bryce Mitchell. I can't. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm marinating on that. And
Bryce Mitchell. I will say that would be
are we throwing him
that
in
would be
too
a
fast? We're not throwing him in too fast, right?
I
Lopez.
think Lopez could. I think he
think
could
he
hold
could.
his own all day long against Bryce Mitchell. Personally, I think he could, and he's very quickly developing a fan base. But yeah, I'd be surprised if we don't see somebody within within the top 15 fight him the next
I
time.
wouldn't mind a
So,
Mitchell. I'm in. I'm in.
so what do you think about the Saint Denis Frivola fight?
Yeah, well, you knew that was going
A
to be a
head
train
kick?
crash.
Yeah.
You knew that was gonna be a car crash. You know what I mean? Train wreck, car crash. That's the one, man. I do love Benoit Saint-Denis. That boy is intense. He don't play, but then Frivola came out. You know, what I mean, then like you said, you got veterans fighting on Veterans Day.
Saint Denis straight up said in the in his Octagon interview, he said, "I want the BMF belt, and then I'm coming for Islam Makhachev."
See what I'm
So
saying? He's got
I'm
my man's on a mission.
yeah.
He's not playing. Give him a BMF belt and let him have Makachev. You know, but we got to. Well, we'll have a fight coming up here soon. We got to get that one out of the way. But you know, one of them will be fighting Makachev. But I'm just saying, for Saint-Denis, he is intense. I mean, Jalen Turner is massive. We got
I was gonna say,
Hooker's coming up.
who do you give him?
Yeah, I mean, Hooker's
Dan's
coming
got a
up.
fight coming up, right?
Yeah.
Dan's got a fight. Does Fazeev have a
Fazeev?
fight lined up?
I don't know if
that he does.
but we got to pull. I don't know, man.
But I think Fazeev versus Saint Denis would be a good ass fight, dude.
Tell you what, you won't see me cry talking about Jalen Turner. Did you see that? Who is he in the corner of? He is huge. He's huge. But he beat Frivola and wants Gaethje, Islam in return. This is that hungry
We had it-
attitude you should have
we had
when
it
you're
both
in the
ways on
UFC.
this
Is I
part,
want to
exactly.
kick down every door and smash everything. You should have that though. I want them all. I want the best. I want the best right now. Like, okay, let's talk about him. Who said that from day one and nobody's saying anything because they kept giving him the opportunity? Hamzat. I'll smash
Yeah.
everybody. But you have to have that, right? You have to have that going in, and let your manager, let your coaches, let them tell you, all right, slow down. But your job is, I want to smash. I want to smash everything.
So
And
I'll be interested to see because I don't think the rankings have been updated yet. No, obviously not everything in the UFC goes off of like, oh, well, he beat this ranked fighter, so he needs, this is
but it's
us
a good
playing.
argument piece.
This is us playing Pokemon,
Number
right?
versus
It's like,
number.
oh,
Yeah.
my Squirtle beats your Charmander, whatever the fuck it is. So
No, he
it's
didn't. Hold up. Did he just Squirtle and Char? Okay.
from a
But
fan perspective, the rankings are what you have to go off of, right? So it's
yeah,
like it is like Frivola was 14. Saint Denis was unranked, but
I
he
like
beat 14
in round
dominantly.
one, like
I
that.
mean, quick.
Hey, Santini, you give him green.
I mean, if Saint Denis will wait an extra 2 weeks, we could see a Benoit versus Dan Hooker. So next one, women's strawweight, Andrade versus Dern. What'd you think about this one, man?
I've said it 100 times. I'm going to say it 1,000 more. You know what Andrade is going to do. She will step inside and just boom, boom, boom. There is no release. And this was the time where she was actually slowing it down a little bit because you do have to worry about Dern. Dern is horrifying on the ground. But the problem is getting it there. And we were watching that the other day. I think what was the fight we watched on? Because on Fridays, watching fights and fighters fight, it was against Overkill. The way that she was literally just trying to just lean in and just try to grab a takedown. She wasn't able dropping level changing, no setups, no takedown. If you're that good on the ground, wouldn't you want to be good at getting it to the ground? I'm almost dumbfounded that you just don't. You're not ready to work. Now, don't get me wrong, your hands look decent, but if you were going to sit there and try to outstrike Andrade, that's not the best game plan. Andrade don't kid around. She gets
Well,
in
it
and
was
just starts
absolutely
bombing. And I
It was
love it. That's what
absolutely
I
a
love about
situation
it.
where Andrade, you could tell, like, it was a conscious effort. Like, we're keeping this fight standing,
And
right?
she slowed it down enough to get that
Yeah.
good sprawl and brawl going
Yep.
where I can throw a couple of shots. Because the other thing is, right, getting timed. And if you overextend on a shot and it can drop underneath, boom, and you're almost closing the distance and giving them the takedown. She did a good job of stepping in, but still being far enough out. The momentum was never going too far forward. You could see she took the steam off a little bit. It
It's
reminds
like,
me of like when I fought Zhao Hawk, who a world champion, and back in the day, and I'd throw these shots, and he'd try to take me down, I'd stuff him, and I'm like, let's go. And they would sit on their butt going, and I'm like, nah, let's get back up. And then try to hit him again, boom. And I'm like, no, I used to be the sprawl and brawl king. Cause I can't go diving in there after arm bars and stuff like that. I'm going to get hurt.
Jessica was on a 3-fight skid until this win. She needed this win, right? It's kind of weird because she's got wins over Lauren Murphy and Caitlin Chukagian, but they're actually ranked higher than she is in the rankings. I don't
But
know what
that's
you
at
do there.
25
It's
because
like
she's been bouncing back and forth, right? She's more of a ranked 15 pounder.
that. You may be right. You may be right.
Chukagian, right? 25.
Yeah,
Lauren.
that was flyweight. Yeah.
So that's because she's probably not having that ranking. You know what I'm saying? Blanchfield beat her and Dern didn't. But that's the reason why beating Blanchfield is a phenomenal wrestler. Guess what Dern didn't have? Takedowns. She didn't have a clinch. That was even. I would go so far as to say Andrade is the better wrestler.
Do you think she stays at strawweight? Do you think Andrade stays at
Andrade is a
strawweight at this
strawweight.
point?
I don't know why she goes up to, dare I say it? I don't want to say it, but a gatekeeper.
Sure.
Kind of gatekeeping, and she'll
Sure.
gatekeep at, you know what I mean? Gatekeep at 25 and 15 because she's just a name. She's a powerhouse. She has a certain style that if you can beat it, then you move up. She'll test you really fast, and those hands are no joke.
Aspinall Pavlovich. What did you think about this fight? Ended the way you thought it was going to,
Yeah.
I guess.
He
Yeah.
did exactly. He was fast, really fast. Short notice, but then he admits he had like a back injury.
Yeah, he said he could barely move.
He
He got
could
the fight.
barely
He got the
move.
call for the fight like 3 days after he hurt his back. He said that's why he said if you get an opportunity, take it.
Well, it reminds me of, and I don't like to compare it with me, but that was that same thing with when I fought John Lewis. I had lost to Dean Thomas in a different organization, but I was still undefeated in the UFC, and I limped around, and the sciatic started up, and it destroyed my back. I was bedridden. But it was my turn to fight in the UFC, and there was no way I was not going to take it because you get to fight maybe once a year because this is back when they were doing maybe 6 shows, and they just started this 155-pound division. So I limped around that thing, and it was I was in so much pain, but there was no way I wasn't going to take that fight. You heard me talking about it. And I just had to figure out what I was going to do, how I was going to adjust. So had I not taken that fight, who knows who would have been the first one to get that crack at that belt. My point is, it's not something you always want to do. When you do decide to do it, remember, we always had to say, you don't have an injury no more. Once you step in that ring or that cage, there is no more injury. Now, if
Right.
you get hurt in the cage, that's a different ballgame. But you don't get to have that 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And that has to be up here, right? You don't have an out.
With his win, he is now the third British UFC title holder in history after Bisping and Leon Edwards. We didn't get any call outs from him, but it was kind of interesting. Because Gon went to, took to Twitter, as most of these dudes do, and said, "Congratulations, Tom. You are now the champion and become the one being pursued, and I am the hunter. See you soon." Jones and Stipe are tied up. Do we see an Aspinall Gon fight, or do we see Aspinall wait for the winner of Jones Stipe, or the winner of Jones Stipe? Is that just going to be a retirement fight for both of them?
Have we ever had an interim champion defend their interim belt? Most of the time, the next fight is always the unification of that belt. That should be the first thing, right? But if they're waiting for a long time for this fight, do you give up the belt and make the quote unquote interim champion now becomes champion, and you'll come back and you'll fight for the belt after you do your fight with Stipe? You never lost it, and do you let him have a fight and a title fence along the way, and then you get to come back and fight for the belt? Does that make sense?
How does that work if Jones
Pile
just
up.
straight retires?
Well, he could go out there right now, beat Stipe, even though he's not the official champion. He would retire as the champion because nobody beat him, nobody took his belt.
But then what happens to that belt? The belt just becomes an interim belt that
No,
now
the interim
whoever
belt, the interim champ becomes the champion.
there is
Right?
no
The interim
more, there's
champ
no
is now the
extra
champion.
fight.
He'll fight whoever the number one contender would be, and he would defend his
Becomes a
belt.
vacant belt. Okay.
Aspinall's the interim champ, so whoever wins with Jones and Stipe will then come back, fight Aspinall, and then we'll have our champion.
Headline fight: Fajeda versus Yuri Prohaska. There was a bit of controversy around this one too. So round 2, TKO elbows. In 11 fights, Alex has claimed titles in 2 different divisions. Right. So the interesting thing about this one, I personally, and I've seen this sentiment floating around a lot, the fight was stopped a little early.
Damn, Pajeda's big. How he makes 85, because it didn't really start dawning on me until fight day. I'm like, man, he's bigger. And I figured Yuri was going to be, he was big. And just that awkwardness and the way that he jumps into punches and stuff like that. But this time around, he looked lost. Obviously, you're mortified because you got to change up your stance because that front leg is getting destroyed. Unless you train it every day, which I was guilty of not doing, it is not easy to just all of a sudden switch and become right-handed when you're used to being left-handed. Then, of course, it gets to the combination that dropped him. Now, the other thing is when you drop down, most people go diving into a desperation takedown, and a lot of times I will sprawl and spin around behind, like I just can't hold on to the legs no more. Boom, you sprawl me out and get behind. Rarely do you pop up and just get ran over. It just seemed like Yuri was just 100% lost. Pajeda, we all figured this out, starts getting sprawl defense, and he starts sprawling and brawling because now you're stuck standing up with him, and he does. He punches different. You don't do it that. You don't do like he can one punch you. He threw 2 shots and dropped him. Poof. You know what I mean? And put him into a dizzy state where even he said, "Hey, I can see why they stopped it. I was kind of helpless." And there's just certain people that are just heavy. They're heavy hands, heavy kicks, and he is that. He's heavy, horribly heavy.
The fact that Yuri's coming out and saying, "Hey, it is what it is."
Yeah.
I respect
you know
the
me.
referee's decision.
Yeah.
Like that to me, if nothing else, and I think this is the kind of the case with a lot of people, it makes you respect Yuri that much more. Well, that was this fight, UFC 295, man.
All right, though. Thank you. Y'all be real. Y'all be good. Y'all be real good. I'll see you later on, okay?